real quick before we get started today, make sure you swing by thefamboss.com and check out our wonderful sponsors. We have quite a few that are adding up and still more to add. So let's get started with the show. Welcome to another episode of the Fan Boss Frequency. My name is Chris, and today, episode 21. I'm not a cow, so don't put me in the cattle line, ladies and gentlemen. You ever been to the bank? You ever been to a public place? Something's going to be a quick trip. Well, you know how that goes. I just got to grab one thing. I'll be right in and out. No big deal. And that was me. I was looking for an office chair and a couple odds and ends for my office. Nothing too fancy. Nothing complicated. Just get a chair, get some knickknacks, go home, pay for it. After I pay for it, obviously we go home, but you get the idea. So somewhere along the way, actually the first store I went into, that trip kind of turned into a reminder that a lot of businesses don't actually know how to finish the play. And that's really a big problem, because efficiency is not just about being busy. It's not just about having people in the building. Efficiency is a mindset. It's the ability to take somebody from point A to B without making them feel like they're being dragged through the process. So if you're not prepared to finish the play at the register, in the handoff, or even in the final step of your business, you're really wasting people's time, and people can feel that way. But what made this whole thing so frustrating wasn't just that the store was busy, it was the way the system was set up. People were literally standing in this line waiting for the computer, now serving number 9, customer number 7, and they're just giving the register numbers. So it really did feel like we were in line just waiting to be slaughtered. I mean, it's just, and I was, the line moves pretty quick. I don't care. It doesn't matter how quick the line's moving. It's the fact that I'm in a line to start with. And let's be honest, nobody likes feeling that way. People don't want to feel like they're being hurted. They really don't feel like they don't want to feel like they're being a number, And, they don't want to feel like they're standing in some awkward line just hoping somebody eventually notices them. They want clarity. They want direction. They want to feel like their time matters. And that's really the lesson here. See, the problem is a lot of businesses don't lose customers because the product is bad. They lose customers because the process is annoying or it's a hassle. That's the part that people underestimate. You might have a great offer, phenomenal reputation. You might even have a good team of folks that give everything they got. But if the experience is clunky or confusing or slow, people remember that. And in service-based businesses, that can be a death sentence. And that's something we always keep in mind. Because in the service businesses, we're not just selling the service, we're selling that experience. And we're not just selling the experience, but we're selling the experience of being served. So if the customer has to fight through confusion just to get to the finish line, you've already created unnecessary friction. But here's the good news. This can all be fixed. So the first thing is to map the customer journey. Ask yourself what happens when someone walks in, calls in, clicks in, or shows up. What happens next? Where do they go? Who helps them? And what do they need to know before the process starts? This is the part that frustrates me more than anything when it comes to making buying decisions or even visiting local retail stores anymore. If you can't explain the journey clearly, the customer can definitely feel there's no clarity there. So the second thing is make the handoff simple. A lot of businesses do a great job of getting attention, but they lose people at the transition point. And at any point during the transition that becomes confusing, that leads to more friction. So you want that to be clear. So maybe the customer talked to one person, but now they have to repeat everything to someone else. That's why we take good notes. We keep a CRM. We have a history for our customers, so we don't have to worry about that. We can always look that situation up. And you better document. I tell everyone who works for me, document as if you're going to have to explain this in court in 5 years. You're not going to remember it. So make sure you put it in writing. Maybe they were told one thing up front, but when they get further in the sales process, it feels completely different. Maybe the expectations were set in such a way that the customer either didn't understand or they didn't grasp the full concept of what they were going into. So one thing we can do on that end is make sure that we have a clear understanding from start to finish and get them to feed that back to us. And maybe no one owns the process from beginning to end. And that's where things fall apart. So let's simplify the handoff. So when we train our team, we want to train them to communicate clearly. We also want to make sure that people know who's responsible for what. You have a service question, this is who you talk to. You have a sales question or a product question, this is who you talk to. And we make sure that the next steps are obvious and they're not hidden. After all, the worst thing is, having to jump through hoops to give somebody your money. I think that's probably the most demeaning part, standing in the line, next. I hate that. I hate it at the bank. I hate it when I'm shopping for something. Like, let me go to a register. I mean, even at, the big box stores where they stand in line like grocery stores and so forth, I even feel better about standing in those lines, funny enough, because I don't feel like I'm cattle. So the third thing is to train for the finish. A lot of people know how to start strong. And some people even master that in between, but not everybody knows how to close strong. They know how to greet. They know how to talk. And a lot of them are very, very, very helpful. But when it comes time to complete the transaction, they get sloppy. And that's where every team needs a finish to play mindset. In the sales world, we always talk about closing. What's your closing? Close. Bring them in, reel them in, get them in the boat, get the fish in the boat. That's what we always talk about. Well, that's fine. But once you've completed that, don't just get them close. Don't just get to the closing process. Get them all the way through. If they've come for a product or service, let's make sure that process of getting from A to B is smooth. In our business, we have multiple steps to complete the service. So once the customer is determined they're ready to do business, the first thing we do is we send out a new account application of sorts. And basically gathers all the pertinent information from that business, and we learn everything we need to know to set up their account. Once you set their account up, we get all the contracts in place, we get a fleet map built, we get all the things done that we need to know about that company to be successful from the jump. This solves a lot of problems. It answers a lot of questions along the way. Because the reality is, the final impression matters just as much as the first one. So if we go through those painstaking steps to make sure that we get all the vehicles listed correctly, we get the VIN and tag numbers and all the things that we're supposed to do on the front end, it makes life super simple in the end. And that's the whole point. We know in the business world, people are busy. But, when I'm not in the business world, I'm at home, I've got a family, I've got deadlines, I've got stress and 1,000 other things going on. If they choose to spend their time with your business, they've given you something valuable. So don't waste it. If your system makes people wait too long, re-explain too much, or stand around with no direction, then you're not serving them well. And when people feel like their time doesn't matter, they don't come back. I'm people, trust me, there's a lot of places I haven't been back to because I don't feel like my time is respected. So if I had to put all this in one sentence, I guess I would sum it up like this. Don't line people up like cattle. Treat them like customers. Make the process clean, the next step clear, and the finish easy. Because the businesses that win are the ones that understand and respect this part of the service. All you can do is build the process that respects people from start to finish. And you won't just get customers, you'll build the trust. And you'll build what keeps them coming back. I hope this gives you a little bit of clarity. And again, it's something that it always frustrates me. And I feel like there's so many people that would benefit from having this little bit of nugget of information. But if you enjoyed today's show, please make sure that you like and share with a friend. And also make sure you visit our website at thefamboss.com. Check out some awesome offers from our sponsors. And check out any shows you may have missed and learn more about the hosts, guests, and things that are coming up in the future. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. You have a great day.